I get the title now. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with episode 2 of Turkey, Time to Strike. So for those of you who are seeing this and being like, oh wait, why is this happening? Where's One Piece? Where's To Be Hero X? Well, if you didn't hear, I'm taking a break from To Be Hero X after I finished that last arc. Well, actually, I did the entire arc in one reaction, one video, but still. We're taking a break from that. We will be coming back to it. And One Piece is just off this week. But this is the series that's replacing, taking over for To Be Hero X. Because after I did the first impression to this, I really wanted to get back to it, like, right quick. Because the first impression, when we watched episode 1, it's like, oh, this is like, you know, cute girls bowling anime. Has some, like, cool discussions about competitive sportsmanship versus casual sportsmanship, and just the idea of like what being in a sport, a team event like this would, like, how that would be affected based on your different views of play. And then the ending happened, and suddenly it's an isekai. Because what? That threw me off so aggressively hard last time. It's like, it made me so excited to see more, though. Because it was so not what I was expecting. Because this series was advertised as a bowling anime. As a sports series about just cute girls going bowling and stuff. And most of the first episode was just that. And then the very end, it switches up and it's like this big shocking surprise. I compared it to School Live, to Gakkou Gurashi, in which the ending has this massive twist that changes the context of the entire series. And I was wondering at the end of the last episode, of the first episode, it's like, okay, so were they transported to another world? It kind of looks like there's like a war going on. Would it be like back in time or something? I got the title. I figured this out during this past, week and a half since we reacted to the first episode. Time to Strike. Turkey, Time to Strike. I didn't think too much into it at first because it's like, oh, Time to Strike. It's like referencing strikes in bowling and everything. Turkey is 3 strikes in a row. I didn't think much of it. Just a cute little title for a bowling anime. But time, like they went back in time. I think that's what's going on. I don't think it's like another world, like a fantasy world or something. I think they went back in time and we're like seeing, like, I guess 2 warring nations or something back from the past, or not necessarily nations, but warring like groups of people. You know what I mean. From back in like the past some point. I know there's like multiple like examples of that you could name throughout Japan's history, so I assume it has something to do with that. Maybe like the time period of like Oda Nobunaga or whatnot. I don't know. But it's such a wild switch up, and I'm just so curious to see what the fuck happens. Because it's like, again, I thought this was just a bowling anime, but now they've gone back in time, and it's like, what does that mean? Are they going to introduce bowling like hundreds of years before it's supposed to exist? What is going to happen here? I am so excited for the possibilities of this. Especially since, again, how the first episode, for the vast majority of the episode, painted this series as being. There was nothing to lead into this, except like that, I guess, stone that get hit by the lightning that is what caused this in the first place. But it's like, in terms of the narrative, in terms of the characters, it's like, I have no idea how this is going to work. But I am so invested in it. Just because of that big twist in the first episode. Because like I said, I compared this to Gakkou Gurashi, which I loved back in the day when I reacted. Or, no, I didn't react to that. I don't think I reacted to that. I mean, if I did, that would have been on the old channel that is now terminated, so I can't even check. I don't think I reacted to Gakugarashi, though. I think I watched that on my own time. Either way, when I first watched that, it's like the big twist got me so excited, got me so invested to see what would happen next. It's like, oh, this cute girl school anime is actually fucking zombies, and it's actually very gruesome and horrific, and has a lot of discussions about, humanity and morality and ethics and, just surviving in a zombie apocalypse. So it's like, Jesus. Very intense series that did not at all hint at what it was going to be during most of the first episode. And if this is anything like that, if this is like anywhere near the level of like enjoyability that Gakugarashi was at, I am going to be like so invested in this. I am so glad that I was not spoiled on that twist too, because apparently I have noticed people have started talking about the twist since the first episode had originally come out. So like people were starting to spoil it, and I'm glad I got to it like soon enough to where I wasn't spoiled and still got to go into that completely unexpecting it. It's just like that was such a genuinely welcome surprise. I did not expect it at all, and it was like genuinely super exciting to experience. So I think we should just get into this episode and see how this continues and where it goes. So let's get into it. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, this episode was not as good as the first episode, but I feel like that's actually a good thing. And hear me out. The first episode of a series needs to hook you in. It needs to, like, grab your attention and really get you invested in the series. And this show's first episode did that exceptionally by the sudden genre change, by turning it from this kind of like slice of life sports anime centered around bowling and these characters' views on, casual versus competitive bowling. It goes into an isekai, sending them back to the Sengoku period. And this episode, from the storytelling, the character work, and obviously with the twist having already been revealed, it didn't hit as hard. It wasn't as exciting. It wasn't as, like, really shocking. It wasn't as interesting because of that. But when I say it's a good thing, that's because this episode was not meant to be any of that. This episode, and by the way, is not bad. I want to make that clear. This episode is not by any means bad. I'm just saying it's not as exciting or interesting or hype-inducing as the first episode. This episode is meant to be a follow-up to the twist of the first episode. It's meant to be these characters kind of coming to understand what's going on and dealing with the first conflicts within this new time period they're in. And when you have a series start with an episode that is like so good and impactful, and the second episode's not going to live up to it, and it shouldn't. because the second episode then has to it just has to be follow-up, and it just has to like show like, okay, this is what we're doing, and now we're going to showcase what these characters are like experiencing. And that kind of thing is important to show because it's important for the story, the overall narrative, and for character growth later on, etc., etc. But it's not going to be exciting. It's not going to be super hype inducing. It's not going to be like extremely fun comparatively. It's going to be a lot slower and a lot more just, I'm wording this wrong. A lot less focused is the better way to put it. Because this time we just have to like explore what's happening. And so we get that. We see how the characters react to it, how there's a lot of disbelief and a lot of like freaking out, interacting with the fact that they saw like a disembodied head or decapitated, whichever term you want to use. Seeing like actual samurai and like almost getting raped and killed is, you know, pretty fucked. But like also interacting with, you know, this young boy who comes to save them and they have to save in return, using their bowling skills and their intelligence to trick these people. Still don't know how she managed to like throw a ball and manage to make it. Hold on, let me see if I can go back to that scene real quick. Because she threw the ball like how you would throw a bowling ball, but it somehow like curved upward to hit the guy in the head. Like, let me see if I can find that again. Okay, so she throws the ball. It's going along the ground. It starts to spin around the guy's foot. But then it somehow, like, it somehow launches in the air. I don't understand how it did that. That's the thing that's confusing me. Oh, hold on. I'm going to try slowing this down. Go to playback, go to speed, slower. This is as slow as I can get it. Okay, so it goes around the one guy's foot, and then it goes towards one of the other guy's feet, and it looks like it like hits against the foot, and I think that's maybe what launches it upwards, because the guy whose foot it hits has a reaction. It like hurts him. And then you see the other guy standing there, and the ball, like, launches up and whacks him right in the face. Really fucking hard. I think that's what happened. It kind of, like, it was kind of launched off of his foot. Which, I don't know if it would work like that. I don't think that's how that would happen. But, you know, anime. They're using a fucking bowling ball to, like, take out these guys in the first place. It's like, you gotta have some room to just, you know, accept things. Okay, so that clears that up a little bit, at least what happened and how it, like, launched into the air. It went by really quick. I had to slow it down to really get a good grasp of what happened there, so. But yeah, this is mostly them just kind of getting a grasp for what's going on and dealing with the first conflicts that they face in this this situation. So it's more to like really like start to express and explain everything. And we're gonna get like more of like the exciting stuff, exciting moments, great character moments and stuff later on down the line. At least that's the hope. So yeah, this was a decent episode, and I like seeing the characters try to figure everything out. I will say that I feel their reactions were a little weak compared to what was happening. Like they were kind of freaked out about the head at first, but then kind of like got over it, and they got over a lot really quickly. Rena being defiant towards the one nomadic belligerent, I guess, as we're calling them. and slapping him, and then like giving him a this defiant stare while he after he slaps her back. It's like that was kind of cool and shows definitely the attitude and personality we've started to build up with her. And of course, my stepping in front of her to protect her and everything. A lot of these little things, just good character moments that like showcase who these characters are, what they're all about. Seeing, I don't remember all the names right now, but the one girl, the nerdy girl, like using her intelligence to like take audio of the battlefield before and zoom in with the camera to get better looks at things, and she's definitely the one who came up with a lot of that plan. um the expression of like the tall like emotional girl also being like very strong physically, it is a nice touch to kind of give her some characterization there, um develop her a little bit, and just little things like that. I genuinely enjoy that kind of stuff, and I think it's some pretty good character building. The opening is fine. It kind of showcases a bit of the spoilers and showcases the characters from the Sengoku period who are, again, I guess going to be like sort of uh, counterparts to our main girls, such as this girl who was bowling, except it's not called bowling at this time. Um, in at the mansion house, whatever you want to call it, of our main character there, or not main character. Why did I say main character? What was his name? Suguru? I think it was Suguru. Let me go back to this in the village. Suguri. I was very close. Suguri. Seems very nice. I assume this is maybe his sister or something, but he also seems very well off. So maybe not like maybe it's not quite that simple. Like could be a servant girl. It's very possible. I hate to say it, but I'm definitely very curious to see more about how this goes. I don't know a lot about like when about the Sengoku period. Like you hear about the Edo period and stuff in a lot of anime, but I don't know. Let me see if I can find out when that was. Sengoku period. So the Sengoku period was between 1467 and 1615. Okay, so the 1400s to the 1600s. So that's quite a long time ago. And it's the Warring States period. That I was kind of thinking that I didn't want to say that in the pre thoughts because of like I've heard of the Warring States period before. I don't think I've ever heard of it just referred to as the Sengoku period. I think I always hear of it just referred to as Warring States. But I think that's what Sengoku stands for. I think that's what it means. So I just heard the English translation of it, I guess. But yeah, it's the period in Japanese history in which civil wars and social upheavals took place almost continuously. Um, and yes, this is during the time when Oda Nobunaga marched on Kyoto. So I was actually correct about that. I mentioned, like, I was wondering if this was, like, around the time of Nobunaga and whatnot. It actually was. Um, that's interesting. I mean, that was later in it because that was like it says here 1568, and this ended in 1615. So that was the later part of it, but still. The period saw a breakdown in the traditional master-servant relationship between a lord and his vassals. Interesting. I wonder if that's going to be brought up. I wonder exactly when this takes place during this, because that's a long period to take place in between. Like, that's a long period. It's the late 1400s to the early 1600s. That's like over 100 years. I'm not going to try to figure out the exact amount here. I'd need to like calculate that, but yeah, I've heard of this briefly in other things, so it's not entirely foreign to me, but I'm not like knowledgeable about it. But yeah, that's really interesting. I'm very curious to see what more is like talked about and gone into here, and how it's going to connect with these characters. And I mean, obviously we already see the connections between this girl and Mai with the love of bowling, even though again it's not called bowling at this point in time, but still. And I'm actually curious about that because I know bowling was like a thing like casually before it became known as bowling. When did bowling start? Oh wow. Okay. Some historians trace the origins of bowling to ancient Egypt around 3200 BC. Others point to ancient Germany around 300 AD. Either way, long, long before anything like even here, even with the Sengoku period. Modern 10 pin bowling as we know it today solidified in the United States during the 19th century, particularly with the formation of the American Bowling Congress in the 1890s. So the bowling we typically think of in the modern day, the bowling that they were doing in their time period, is from the very end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s. That's very fascinating, though, that this like bowling to some degree can date back to that far in the past. Um, and even if like we like no matter how you look at it, because like 1467 to 1615 is still like only a couple hundred years before it was like made into the official thing we know today. So I wonder how accurate they went with this. I wonder if they did like a huge amount of research. The creator of this series did a huge amount of research into like figuring out like how to portray it accurately within that time period. That would be really fascinating if this was like super accurate. Um, that this has just like made me more invested than anything. Like this, I've gotten so much more invested. Even if this episode again wasn't like as like enticing and exciting, again, it wasn't really meant to be. But still, there's some ramifications and ideas here that can really be taken in some great directions. I'm I'm very very into this. So, yeah. Let me know your thoughts on episode 2 of Turkey Time to Strike. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.